Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So, I see many old faces and also many new faces. Some of you have already taken Kriya and practiced it perfectly on the day you took Kriya. After that, God knows. So, this is a fun session. Your real serious classes start tomorrow. So, I would like to start with asking someone who has come for the first time for a Kriya retreat. You know, this is not an Upanishad retreat, but everything is Upanishad. Why and what do you expect? Why have you come? It's nice to know. First time? Have you attended the Upanishad retreats before? No. What's your name? Purnima. Okay. So tell me. Don't be nervous. I'm quite a good man. I don't hurt people. Yeah. You don't like change. Okay.
I don't like change, and I want to attain something that doesn't change.
Okay.
So hopefully I find something permanent.
This is why you thought it's a good idea.
Yes.
How old are you?
I am 31.
Good. Nice age to start. I started just 2 years before your age.
But you met...
No, that's different. But I actually seriously decided to go away somewhere and pursue the matter when I was 19. So this is good. 2 years. It's okay.
I'm glad to hear that.
So, okay. So, what do you do?
I'm a software engineer.
Yeah?
I'm a software engineer.
Software. Okay. Good. Nice input. Anybody else?
Namaste. My name is Karthik. I'm here because
You come before, Karthik?
I've come for Upanishad retreat.
When?
Last August, and this is the first time for Kriya.
Not the same Karthik. Okay. Because
so
sometimes Christine used to say, there's a person come called Karthik. So I said, who is this Karthik? Okay, this is different Karthik. Okay.
Yeah. My goal, of course, I've seen a lot of your videos online and followed pretty much every retreat so far. But the goal is to, you talk about that. The goal is to touch that, which obviously cannot be explained or cannot be known by the senses, but what is the journey I need to undertake to reach that? And that's why I'm here.
Right, so you think Kriya might be helpful to...
Yeah, seems from what I heard from your lectures, seems like that's definitely a path to undertake. So that's a journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How old are you?
I'm 40. I just turned 40.
I'm reminded, we'll go around, but I'm reminded of a story of in the life of Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. Somebody gave me a vitamin tablet. So, in the early days, when he was not so well known, a young man was with him all the time, whose name was Hridayaram. short form Hriday. Actually, he was his nephew. And one day, while they were sitting there, a young man came in. So, Thakur, Sri Ramakrishna, asked him very sweetly, softly, what's your name? He told him. Then he said, are you married? He said, yes. Then, that's better. Well, I think my chin was talking. So, now it's clear, right? So he said, are you married? He said, yes, sir. Then he told Hriday, oh my God, he is married. Then he asked him, do you have children? He said, yes, sir, I have two. He said, oh my God, he has children too. But it doesn't matter, we'll manage. He said, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what he said. So, because it needs one-pointed attention, this 9, that is why in the past several people became monks and so on, but it doesn't apply anymore. We have seen too many monks who live non-monkish ways. So I think now Babaji has given me a job, talking about my Guru, Maheshwarnath Babaji. That Babaji, even I cannot measure. And the job is that no matter who comes, teach. Ask. You are nobody to judge who's going to get it or who not. Well, I might in a way, but not relevant, really, if you're serious. That's why I teach. I know that in some ground, it depends on the soil. Some earth is fallow, some earth is fertile, but the seeds are equally sown, right? So, depending upon the ground in which the seeds are sown, one needs to decide how much to water, what to add, how much compost do you want to add, and so on. And constant looking after, digging up, bring back, all these things are necessary. But it's a mistake to every day pull up a plant and look how the roots grown and push them in. They'll never grow. But over a period of time, one needs to look. And I think in this matter, if I give you the kind of a criteria, roughly, you can yourself check what's going on. You don't have to always reach me because I'm also not available all the time. And it's not such a terrible thing. It's really very nice and quiet and soft. And I think everybody is capable of looking into this matter. We have no consideration of caste, creed, religion. Although I cannot deny the fact that this knowledge has come to us from the ancient teachings of the country where I come from. This we cannot deny. But there is no such. And the teaching, it may be the geographical locality and the people who taught, but the teaching is one of wisdom where the sages declare in the Upanishad, Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu, let the whole world be happy. Not that only you should be happy or I should be happy or this. So Lokah Samastah Sukhino Bhavantu is what we should follow in our lives because all are human beings. Right? We are all born from a womb. We have 2 nostrils, 2 ears, a mouth and 2 eyes. So we cannot be, basically we can't be different. A person turns out in a different way depending on what he's taught, what he's brainwashed with, and so on and so forth. So basically I want you to be free from all brainwashes. Now that requires a really strong detergent to wash. to get the brainwashes out. So this is what we might be doing in the next couple of days. Of course, I know you have come for Kriya Yoga, not so much the philosophy part. But then please understand that without a hypothesis and without a philosophy, no practice is of any use. Simply because if you practice without knowing where you are going, you might end up in deep trouble. I know people who are very anxious to find a technique. Unfortunately, techniques have been advertised. This is the jet plane path, and this is the shortest, and this is the best. There is no such thing. Paths depend on the individual also. What is your background? There is no jet plane path to the truth. These are all things sold like there is a panacea for all diseases. You will find it on YouTube. No, there is no panacea. We know a real medical person will tell you there is no panacea for all diseases, right? So, what I'm saying is, while we are going to look at things which are beyond the grasp of the ordinary intellect, we are not going to belittle intelligence. Intelligence is very essential to go forward. And plus, the teaching is more important than the teacher. This is what I'm saying, because people then start worshipping you. And then they think everything will happen. No, you have to put in your penny worth of effort. Just by saying, oh, you're wonderful, it doesn't mean anything. You don't go anywhere. You have to work on yourself, right? I cannot work on you. You have to work on, I can help you. All these things, okay, I understand. But if I become more important than the teaching, then we are done. We cannot move forward. So, in the process of breaking down the crutches that we have, please be free of the Sri M clutch also. If you progress on the spiritual path, you can also be Sri H or Sri R or Sri S. You don't have, you know what I mean. So, I know if people who are new here, they might be shocked. Is this what we came for? So, but then that's what it is. Some people have come before, know how I teach. Some of them know me for several years, although how many practice Kriya, I don't know. But now, why am I saying this? Because, the standard textbook, which all yogis accept as a standard textbook, is not written by anybody recently. It's the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. One of the darshanas, Yoga Darshana, Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Now, please understand that the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali are divided into 4 sections. First is called the Samadhi Pada. The second is called the Sadhana Pada. And the third is called the Vibhuti Pada. And the fourth is called the Kaivalya Pada. 4 sections. Oh, why did Patanjali formulate it this way? Because it's considered a textbook by most practitioners of yoga. Because the first chapter being Samadhipada, it kind of gives you a rough blueprint of where you are supposed to go if you follow the practices of yoga. That's why it's called Samadhipada. So it discusses something called Samadhi, which actually, according to the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, occurs at the end. It's called Ashtanga Yoga because it has 8 angas, but nowhere in the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali has Patanjali himself called it Ashtanga Yoga. There's nothing wrong with calling it Ashtanga Yoga, but nowhere he uses the word Kriya Yoga. Now, the first chapter, which is called the Samadhipada, deals with, as I said, a rough blueprint of where we are supposed to go in our spiritual text. What is the thing that you seek? How do we reach the culmination, which, if you count the angas or the 8 parts, starts with yama, niyama, rules and regulations to practice. You cannot say, I will live my life as I like and do my yoga and read. Not possible. You have to change the ways you live, what you do, how you eat, and so on, how you behave. So it starts with those things, yama, niyama. Then asana. Asana need not necessarily mean the yogasanas that we do, although they are good for health. I can vouch for it. But asana is the only place in the Yoga Sutra where Patanjali mentions asana is Sthira Sukham Asanam, one sloka. That posture where you get the maximum comfort is your asana. Although other textbooks on yoga have elaborated and described many asanas, which are very good, I agree with it, I practice regularly. And I think partly my being fit at this age of 75 is because of starting the practice of yoga at the age of 10. It's not just Kriya Yoga, any yogic asanas I'm talking about. So, yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi, 8. So samadhi occurs at the end. Actually, it's not a anga, it's a culmination. It's in samadhi that the yogi experiences and understands what is known as Kaivalya. Kaivalya means freedom. When one understands that there is only one spiritual element that exists and everything else is a concoction of the mind. So this samadhi has been discussed in the first chapter. So it's called the Samadhi Pada, which means it's an extra, what can we call it? A state of consciousness which is beyond the ordinary, which means beyond waking, dream, deep sleep, beyond all these states which are common to us into Turiya, which the yogi and the Sankhya, both, a lot of things in yoga darshana are borrowed from Sankhya, Kapila. So when the yogi says Kaivalya, he is talking about that state where the mind is in a superconscious level and not in the ordinary. Once experienced, it comes through all states of consciousness. Till you reach, it's a separate thing. When you reach there, you see it's always there. Now this is why, so therefore I think we need to know a good background of where we are going before we start practicing. The second chapter is called Sadhana Pada. Now, sadhana means practice. So before you have a groundwork of where you are going, what you are trying to do, sadhana will be of no use or rather would be dangerous. So this quick wanting to have some practice, while it's good, in some ways it's actually dangerous in the spiritual field because you don't even know where you're going. It's largely unexplored territory. You might find something and think this is the end of it, and so on and so forth. So now how does Patanjali describe yoga, the practice of yoga? After saying Atha Yoga Anushasana, this is the beginning of the practice of yoga or teaching of yoga. He says, Tapas, Swadhyaya, Ishwara Pranidhana, Kriya Yoga. He uses actually the word Kriya Yoga, which means when you practice Kriya Yoga, you should follow all the steps described by Patanjali in his yogic practice, which is yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and so on. Got it? So, he uses the word Kriya Yoga. So, what is tapasya? Tapasya comes from the Sanskrit word tapa, which means heat. increase your heat, which means increase the heat. You know, say, I had a heated pursuit of somebody who was running away. So, tapasya means generating inner heat. Or it means till now you are cold in your life, you want to generate some heat and move forward. Something like that, roughly. So from tapa, which means heat, comes the word tapasya. Tapasya basically means not to let your senses do what they like, but have some kind of control over them. This is tapasya. Then it definitely generates some heat, because you're fighting with this. I'm just trying to simplify the whole concept of tapasya. Those days are gone in tapasya when people stood on the water or in the forest with one leg like this. I won't eat for 15 days. Or I won't eat till I see the Mahavishnu and so on. Those days are gone. Those days don't apply anymore. That which is discussed in another yuga. We are in Kali Yuga. These tapasyas don't work in Kali Yuga. What is tapasya then? The capacity to fight, the capacity to say that I will not allow my senses to run away with my mind, or rather I would keep them under control. This is tapasya. Anyway, like you, a small example, you love a certain food, let's say. You say this mind is too caught up with this food. Can I free itself? So for 2 weeks I'm not going to eat that. It's also a kind of tapasya. The best tapasya would be that for many years I hate somebody. Can I at least for 2 weeks be free from that hatred? Whether that person hates, it doesn't matter. Me. Can I free myself? Now all this is tapasya, some kind of control. Then Swadhyaya, the definition that Patanjali gives for practice, sadhana. Swadhyaya means self-study, basically. It means not only studying, hearing others speaking, but to sit down quietly and study for yourself a text which has been prescribed and your own mind. So Swadhyaya means Swadhyaya, studying by yourself. It also means Swadhyaya, studying yourself. Where do I stand? Swadhyaya is not saying, oh, I am the Supreme Brahman. That's only your imagination, you really don't know. I am where I am. As I stand today, what are my good points, what are my bad points, what helped me towards meditation, what take me away. This study is also Swadhyaya. It's an adhyaya of the self. Then Ishwara Pranidhana, then fixing your attention and asking for help from some great energy or intelligence which you are not able to grasp and explain. Ask help. This is Ishwara Pranidhana. All together becomes Kriya Yoga. So the practice comes, but all these are necessary before we start the practice. And simply if I sit down and breathe up and down, do you think God is such a fool that it will reveal itself to you? Because also, I'm saying all this because tomorrow if you, after hearing this, you're not interested in Kriya Yoga, you can go home and enjoy. So, I'm trying to weed out if people seriously want to do Kriya. Okay. And if you decide to go, you'll be refunded, don't worry. So what did I say? I said something just now. Who's? The what? I didn't hear you. No. Yeah. Something, Yes? Yeah, so not all that, but an attempt should be made to understand that Kriya is not simply a technique which can be done and you live your life as you like. Every day I will shoot people down, but I will do. It doesn't work. So some rules and regulations have to be followed. Of which the basic ones, of course, is not to hate other people. or other animals. And if it's possible to live without causing injury to other living beings, and so on. We'll go through that tomorrow when we come there. The other thing is, Kriya needs to be practiced every day. Why? Because you're trying to change the movement of energy or prana in your system, which functions in a particular pattern. You're trying to change it to a different pattern. That's not easy. It takes time. So everyday practice is essential, because all our life the prana was flowing in a particular mode. So you want to change it to a different mode. We have only 15 minutes more for this, 10 minutes more. So, should I proceed? I brought the Upanishad just to give you a shock, but this is not an Upanishad session. But I believe that the core teachings of the Upanishads should be part of your, what you call Samadhi para, without which it will be difficult to understand where you're going. So maybe I will engage with one more person in this 10 minutes. Yes?
My interest in Kriya is seeking to find something which is permanent, which gives me happiness. Gives me happiness which is permanent, which does not dissolve. You know, we come to the US in search of some happiness, some materialistic thing. You do your job and you want this car, you want another car, and you want a family. But eventually the happiness kind of dissipates. And then you are again not satisfied, and you want to keep finding that something which is permanent. And don't mean like materialistic happiness, something which is blissful. Something peaceful, blissful, permanent. So that's my...
Okay. So, this is one thing you've said. You're right. I understand. Now, when people came to Maheshwarnath Babaji, I'm deliberately not using the word puja and so on and so forth. I don't think it's required, kind of exaggeration. When I was with Maheshwarnath Babaji, he rarely gave Kriya to people. He didn't give Kriya to everybody. He used to give Kriya. And when people come and asked him for Kriya, he used to ask, "Aap kyun Kriya lena chahte? Why do you want to take Kriya?" So some people say, "We want to attain moksha or Bhagavad Darshana." Sorry. He used to ask, "Why do you want to take Kriya?" And some people would say, "We want to have a vision of the divine, or we want to reach a spiritual fulfillment," and so on and so forth. So usually he asked them. In India, we had a princess, a queen who lived in Rajasthan, who was a great devotee of Krishna. And it is kind of accepted that she had a darshan or a vision of Krishna. So Babaji used to ask people, what Kriya did Mirabai practice? Her name was Mirabai. What Kriya did Mirabai practice? Answer usually is we don't know. She didn't actually do anything, but her mind was one-pointed and going towards it, and she was not interested in anything else except that, and so she got it through pure devotion. The second question he used to ask, which is intellectual, what Kriya did Ramana Maharshi practice? None. At least we don't know of any Kriya that he practiced. He did not ask anybody to do this. So it's not as if, I'm quite different from many teachers, okay? It's not as if you will get there only if you practice Kriya and that this Kriya. Kriya is a general word which means practice, technique, method. That's called Kriya. Kriya karam means what are you doing? What Kriya are you doing? What karam are you doing? So, it's simply that the main thing is that one pointed attention and desire to find the truth. This is most important. What kriya would you do, what practice you do, or what practice you don't do, it all depends on various other factors. Because in the Yoga Shastra, there are so many kriyas. Every technique is called a kriya, including pranayama. So it's not as if you get it only with it's not like that. I'm not trying to sell something saying that this is the only best kriya. So, there is no black magic, there is only white magic. And white magic is love, affection, doing good to others. This is the magic. Anyway, so did I say? Kriya. So therefore, if you still feel that you want to take Kriya, then tomorrow onwards we can have Kriya. But tomorrow I'm again going to go into the background of where we are going, how we are going, experiences of some of the sadhaks, and then proceed probably by tomorrow evening or the next day into the actual practice of Kriya. Kriya as given to me. Kriya as we have from Maheshwarnath Babaji and Sri Guru Babaji, that Kriya we can practice. Therefore, it's very clear that you don't have to change your ways of devotion. If you love to go to temples, you don't have to stop it because you're doing Kriya. Please go. Even I go, I love it. Now, if you don't want to go to temples, you think the Supreme God stays in my heart, I don't have, fine, you're welcome. So, whatever approaches you have and mindset you have, as long as it doesn't cause injury to others, you can follow. You don't have to change that. But some things you need to change, basic things like how we behave with people, and what kind of food we eat. These things need a little more close scrutiny. That's all. It doesn't matter whether you say God is with form, without form. It doesn't mean. You will know that when you reach the goal. Otherwise it's all theory, right? Several people have said many things. So I want you to stand on your own feet, be independent. I'm not absolving myself of you, that's not what I'm saying. Where help is required, help shall be given, it's not like that. But please understand that at least I think in some way, I'm somewhere because of sincere practice and following the rules and regulations. I'm not denying the fact that there were blessings from Babaji. I'm not denying that, because I think without that I couldn't have come thus far. While keeping that in mind, remember that you have to put in your penny worth. You don't have to change your robes. You don't have to change your hairstyle. You need to do nothing. You can, all fine. And that's why we said there is no uniform here, As soon as people reach a spiritual place, they'll give one colored uniform to them. You know what happened in Germany when uniforms were given and bands were played? They killed all the Jews. So, uniformity is a bane in spiritual practice. If the infinite is like the ocean, there are different rivers that flow into it. You can't say only one river flows into it. Right? Yes, so today's introduction, and please be free to ask, don't keep on asking questions, but treat me as a friend, okay? Don't elevate me too much on the pedestal, because then you won't understand anything. You will hesitate to ask me. You say, how to ask him? Now, before I end, I want to tell you a story. Stories are always easier to understand. So, during the days of the life of Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, I'm sorry I keep repeating the name of... thank you so much. Good. Yeah. Because it's one of the persons I really respect, adore, and look at in a very respectful manner. So, which is why in our Bharat Yoga Vidya Kendra, which is in Madanapalli, where we have yoga courses, the only videos that I allow are Swami Sarvapriyananda's from the New York Ramakrishna Mission, Vedanta Center. Because he comes from that parampara, so he would not say any nonsense. I know that. So, anyway, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa's time, there was a man, a very sincere man who wanted to do his sadhana and so on, who used to come often. He could do many things, he could control many things, but there's one thing he could not control at all, and that was his sexual desires. Well, in English they usually use the word lust. I don't like it much, but anyway. So his sexual desires were so powerful that he could not bring any other things he could do. So every day he would come to Ramakrishna and think, I'll ask him how to do this. And then he would say, how will I ask the saint about these matters which are so kind of animalistic and so on? So he kept postponing this. He couldn't ask him, he couldn't get to ask him this. One day he came in the evening and he saw him standing near the river looking out at the boats that were passing by, and nobody was around. So he said, maybe this is the best time. So he just rushed and he fell at his feet and he said, I have to confess something to you. He said, what? I can't control my lust. What do I do? And the reaction was so interesting that he started crying with tears because Ramakrishna said, get up, get up. Then he put his hand on the shoulder and he said, you know what? Even I passed through this problem many years ago. You need to admit. You cannot say, I'm all hollow. Some years ago when we had this walk, Padayatra from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, in the middle of that I had to stop the walk and go to Rome. Because I had requested for an appointment with the Pope. It never came 1 year. So we started the walk. So when we reached Pathankot, I think, somewhere there, I got a call from the Cardinal saying that your appointment is fixed, in 3 days you can meet the Pope. I said, should I do this or not do it? Then I thought, it's a good idea, he is respected all over the world, so let's go. So I went there and I met him, and he said, doing a wonderful thing, and so on. And I personally met him. And then he said something which is very interesting. Later on I figured out that it was not his own quote, but it came from Oscar Wilde. He had picked it up from Oscar Wilde, so while most of it was in Latin and so on, and somebody was translating, then he shifted a little bit to English, and he said, please remember that every saint has a past, and therefore every sinner has a future, which profoundly affected me, because every saint has a past. Nobody holy. And every sinner, therefore, has a future. He may become a saint. Otherwise, what is the point? So then, 3 years later, I discovered that it was originally Oscar Wilde quote. But anyway, it doesn't matter who quoted, who did it first, who said it first. So remember that. The worst thing is that I'm a sinner. No, inside you is a spark of the divine. So you are children of immortality. Don't say, that kind of finishes you off. I'm a sinner. This is the biggest problem. Many people think they're born in sin. What the hell? You're all human beings. You're not born in sin. This is nonsense. Anyway. So then, will the sin be over if you put some water? How is this possible? So, in fact, I always wonder, if you look just at the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus Christ's Sermon on the Mount, you wonder if anybody understood what this man was trying to say. Unfortunate, sad. If they had, history of the world would have been different. But then, of course, the organization was formed and everybody, and nobody wants to break the organization. So I'm always keen that if something breaks, it is good. Because without breaking, you cannot remove the externals. You may need a mold to mold something. But once the thing is ready, you have to take out the mold, right? Break it. Otherwise, who can see what is inside? So, thank you.